The hourly train to Exeter waits at Okehampton station. This GWR service has been running since November 2021, restarting almost 50 years after the station first closed to passengers. Okehampton station has been restored over the years to reflect its Southern Railway heritage. Back in the 1960s, trains to Plymouth stopped at this platform, and you could change here and buy a ticket for Bude, Launceston and Bridestowe. The former booking hall has been lovingly restored, and an old map and a timetable are still on display. After closure in 1972, the station fell into disrepair. This view, taken in 1985, shows the bay platform, which was used by trains to North Cornwall until 1966. Up until the return of services to Exeter, heritage trains were operated between here and Meldon. A train to and from Exeter connected on summer Sundays with the Dartmoor Railway, which is seen operating here in 2016. Today, volunteers maintain a museum on the platform, and it's hoped one day that heritage trains will return. But looking over this bridge at the line today, that seems a rather long way off. Okehampton station opened in October 1871, when a branch from the Exeter to Bridestowe line was completed from Colford Junction northwest of Crediton. The plan had been approved in 1862 and construction took 7 years. This section of what came to be called the Devon and Cornwall Railway, south of Okehampton, goes towards Lydford, and that was opened in October 1874. At the same time as the railway opened, a quarry at Meldon started producing ballast, first for the London and South Western and later for the Southern Railway. At its peak, it had an annual output of some 300,000 tonnes. The metamorphic rock here is called hornfels, and it has a very high crushing point, making it ideal to keep tracks and sleepers in place. Up until recently, redundant rolling stock was stored in the sidings here, but now most of it has gone. Because of the remote location, a staff passenger platform was provided, and up until recently it was the terminus for the Dartmoor Heritage Railway. Just beyond the quarry is Meldon Viaduct. It opened in 1874 to carry a single track, and 5 years later a second viaduct was added next to the original. The wrought iron structure is 165 metres long and stands 36 metres above the West Okehampton River Valley. It's now a scheduled monument and is one of only 2 surviving railway bridges of its type in the UK. We're now 200 miles from London Waterloo via Salisbury, Yeovil and Exeter, and this is the site of Meldon Junction, opened in 1879 when a branch to Holsworthy was built. Later trains to Bude and Bridestowe left the Plymouth main line here. Heading further south towards Lydford, trains passed Sawton Church, with Dartmoor's highest tors to the east. One of them, Yes Tor, was chosen as the name for one of Oliver Bulleid's celebrated West Country Pacific steam locomotives. The British Railway's timetable from 1962 shows more than 20 trains passing this way on a weekday, connecting Plymouth and Tavistock with Exeter and Waterloo. The next station was at Bridestowe, 2 miles from the village of the same name. This is bridge number 629, DAC meaning Devon and Cornwall Railway. Bridestowe station opened in October 1874 and is now a private house, although the concrete bridge which links the platforms is still in place. It's claimed that when wild rabbit hunting was an important rural industry on Dartmoor, Bridestowe dispatched many more rabbits than passengers, mostly to London. There was a siding here, and that was the terminus for a tramway that crossed Dartmoor to the Rattlebrook Peat Works, and that closed in 1921. The goods yard closed in 1961, and the station became unstaffed 4 years later. For much of its length from Okehampton to Lydford, the trackbed has been converted into a cycle path, the Granite Way. But as we approach Lydford, the route moves on to country lanes for a while. This section of track, which closed on the 6th of May 1968, has now become very overgrown. This bridge is just over 206 miles from London Waterloo. And from here, the Devon and Cornwall Railway follows the lane towards Lydford Gorge, where it met the Great Western Branch Line from Launceston to Tavistock and Plymouth, which itself had opened in 1864. The Devon and Cornwall Railway was taken over by the much larger London and South Western Railway Company, which in turn became part of the Southern Railway in 1923 and British Railways Southern Region in 1948, although in the 50s many of the stations in this area adopted a brown paint style as they became part of Western Region. This view shows where Lydford Station once stood on the western edge of Dartmoor. This is where the London and South Western met the broad gauge Great Western, and from 1876 to 1891 they shared tracks into Plymouth from here. A third rail was added to allow standard gauge trains to run alongside the broad gauge track. On the approach to Lydford Station we pass the shared goods yard, which lay between the London and South Western and the Great Western lines. Goods traffic ceased here in September 1964. This is the original Great Western Plymouth-bound platform, which became a shared island platform when the London and South Western arrived. There was a waiting room here, a shared signal box and a footbridge. Both companies had their own booking offices on the outer platforms. Today, the site of Lydford Station is privately owned, but a few railway structures do remain. Here from the central island platform you can see the two London and South Western platforms quite clearly. This bridge has been added by the current owners. On the left-hand side here is the Waterloo and Exeter platform, and trains to Plymouth left from the right. The station buildings were on the other side of that fence. Returning to the central platform and turning in the other direction, we move to where the Great Western lines were, by these trees today. Trains were withdrawn on the former Great Western Branch in December 1962, but continued on the Southern Line until May 1968. Today, very little remains of Lydford Station, but on the other side of Dartmoor the station sign survives in the Museum of the South Devon Railway at Buckfastleigh.